What is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome back to another featured archetype video. Recently we covered the Marincess monsters and that whole archetype, that new water archetype that's coming out, how good it was, and you know, if it'll have any synergy with mermails or any other sort of water deck. And really, when I think of any water deck, I think of mermails. But yeah, we overviewed that one, and if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend checking it out. It'll be annotated at the top right of this video if you want to check it out, and we also annotated the end of the last 20 seconds of the video for a clickable thing up on the screen somewhere. But yeah, today we're gonna be looking at the Tianwei. I don't really know if I'm pronouncing that right. I believe it's based off like Chinese martial arts stuff. I'm not entirely sure. And dragons, obviously, or worms as they're calling them. Yeah, apparently this deck's got some pretty cool stuff in it. One of my friends told me to check them out, said they looked pretty busted, in quotes. I don't know about that. Is it a Zodiac? Is it the next Necroz, the Sky Striker? Oh, I don't know. We'll go ahead and find out right now, and go ahead and get started by looking at some of these main deck monsters. We have, looks like, elemental worms instead of dragons. We have a dark one, we have a wind, a fire, a water, and a earth one. And then 2 spells, 1 field, 1 normal. Then we have 1 counter trap. Oh boy, another counter trap. And then we have a link 2, a link 3, or link 3, a link 2, and a link 1. 2 of these being non-effect monsters, which does play into the scheme of the deck. We'll go ahead and talk about that in just a moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one, which is Tianwei Dragon Vishuda. Level 7, 1500 attack, 2500 defense. It says if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls, return to the hand. You can only use this effect of Tianwei Dragon Vishuda once per turn. So basically, a lot of these guys sort of have a similar effect. And by the way, a lot of these cards are coming out in Rising Rampage, which is the next set after Dark Neostorm, and Dark Neostorm comes out May 5th. So we'll be getting it sometime after that, probably a few months after May. So yeah. A lot of these guys, as I said, have the basic effect that says if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is really interesting. I'm just trying to figure out, and I've looked at some of these cards already earlier, because I just had to check them out, apparently, according to my friend. And I'm trying to think what cards go together with these. What normal monster engine are you going to be playing with this deck? And I really can't think of one. Maybe I'm missing something that's just blatantly obvious and I cannot think of it, but right now I really can't. I'm kind of scratching my head about it. I don't really know. But you know, the fact that you can just summon it for free basically to an open board is not bad, especially when you're summoning a level 7 dark monster. 2500 defense, 1500 attack. That doesn't seem too terrible. And then it says if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So looking at some of these link monsters, which we'll get to later, non-effect monster here, non-effect monster here. So basically it sort of acts as a hand trap or a graveyard trap, if you want to call it that way. You control, per se, let's say this link monster, this link 1, the Tianwei Barefisted Monk, and you have this card in your hand. You can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, target a card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So it is a compulse from your hand or a compulse from your graveyard. That seems not too terrible to me, if you ask what I think about it, I guess. Then we have the Tianwei Dragon Nahata. This is a level 4 wind worm. 800 attack, 1000 defense. If you control no effect monsters, you special summon this card from your hand. When an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster and your opponent's face-up monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard. Cost. That opponent's attacking monster loses 1500 attack until the end of this turn. So again, we have that same sort of hand/graveyard trap effect. I can see with a lot of these guys being level 4 or lower, possibly just normal summoning this card, going into this card, and then the rest of your hand, if they're Tianwei monsters, are just loaded with sort of pseudo hand traps, which just seems like so much fun to play against, if you ask me. So yeah, this one has something to do with, you know, damage step shenanigans, and modifying attack. This one is a compulse. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fire one. If you control no effect monsters, mention this card from your hand. So I'm assuming all of these guys have that same clause, so let's not even read that. They can special summon all of themselves to the field while you control no effect monsters. And that says when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-up non-effect monster or monsters. That little parenthesis there, so sneaky. You control quick effect. Oh, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard. Cost negate the activation to destroy that card. You can only use each effect of Tianwei Dragon Minata once per turn. Okay, so quick effect here, another hand / graveyard effect. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So anytime one of your non-effect, face-up non-effect monsters you control, when a card or effect that targets it is activated. Okay, so let's say they go to Widow Anchor it. I guess you couldn't even Widow Anchor it because it doesn't have an effect for Widow Anchor to negate. I don't know, maybe if your opponent goes to... I don't know. What would they... When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-up non-effect monster, why would anybody be doing that in the first place? What would you be targeting it with? Moral Sword? Morload? Maybe? I don't know. The drop 500 effect, but then you can't respond to it. So, I don't know. That's weird. Why would anybody want to target... Like, you can't. Why would you failure it? Why would you break through Skillet? Although that effect on its own isn't too bad at all. And then it says, if you control no effect monsters here for the water one, Tianwei Dragon, Shitana, 400 attack, 2000 defense, my lord. It says, yeah, basically you can special summon it while you control no effect monsters. And then if a face-up non-effect monster or monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one of those destroyed monsters, special summon it, then you can destroy what monster your opponent controls. So that seems pretty darn good on its own right there. If you lose any of your monsters, let's say you get Mirror Forced or whatever, I'm just throwing out an example. You banish this card, you summon out one of those monsters that got Mirror Force, and then you get to pop a card on your opponent's side of the field saying, hey, that's what you get for Mirror Forcing me. Don't do it again. Or if you get Slumbered or something, that seems pretty cool. Yeah, destroyed by battle or card effect. That doesn't seem too bad at all. Not game breaking. It seems pretty good though. Let's not get too overhyped here, shall we? Then we have Tianwei Dragon Adara 0/0. So this thing is an absolute unit, and would you look at that? It is a tuner, a level 1. Can anybody say a 1-for-1 will be a pretty good card in this deck? I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing things out. And it says if you control no effect monster, special this card from your hand. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one of your banished worm monsters except this card. Add it to your hand. So that seems pretty good. Just banish this card from your graveyard, then add one of your banished worm monsters except this card. Add it to your hand. So this recycles your banished cards, but once this card is gone, you're not recycling any more of your banished cards, which seems interesting. Maybe this deck will want to play Burial from a different dimension. I'm not entirely sure. But this card seems pretty important when it comes to recycling all these guys, because as you saw, they do banish themselves from your hand or graveyard. Artifact Lancey, it seems like it might give this deck a huge problem. Imperial Iron Wall. Anything that says you can't banish will give this deck a very, very, very hard time. But who's to say that that will be enough to stop it? I don't know. So that's it for the monsters. They're all sort of pseudo hand traps, which is just fantastic. I really wanted to play against more hand traps. I really wanted to do that. I really did. Konami, I don't know what you were thinking with this one. We got enough hand traps, the Ghost Girls, all those things. We're good with those. We didn't need an Archetype. That is literally all hand traps. I don't know. Let's go ahead and look at the spells. Now we have the Hollow Cycle of Dragons. It is not a Tianwei card, though, which is interesting. It doesn't say in the text either that it's always treated as one. So it's just the Hollow Cycle of Dragons, a normal spell card. Send one worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can add one Tianwei monster from your deck to your hand with a different name from the monster sent to the graveyard. You can only activate one the Hollow Cycle of Dragons per turn. So this reminds me of Dragon Shrine, but for worms. And the thing about this card is it's almost generic. Yeah, just Foolish any worm from your deck to the grave. And then its other effect is then if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can add a Tianwei monster from your deck to your hand. So so long as you, I'm pretty sure with this card, you'd be able to use that first effect, and then if you just didn't meet the other requirement for it, you would simply just not get the other effect, which is to add a Tianwei card, a Tianwei monster from your deck to your hand, from the monster that you sent. You know, I feel like you'd still be able to resolve it. I'm not entirely sure, but overall, it looks like we just have a searcher for all the Tianwei monsters in the deck. So if you want to be able to have a compulse for your opponent's next turn, you play this, you go maybe foolish one of these guys. Yeah, wow, that's actually really good. You can just dump one of these to the grave. So you'll have, let's say the water one, protect against maybe a field wipe or something, and then you add this one to your hand because it doesn't have the same name as the one sent. So you have effect to recover something and a pop, and you also have an ability to compulse. And yeah, but this card is not searchable, which is pretty nice. We don't need this card to be searchable, I think, at the moment. Then we have Land of the Eternal Tianwei. This card I did read earlier. This card is absolutely bonkers. Face-up non-effective monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects, which seems pretty darn good. And then once per turn, if your opponent special summons an effect monster or monsters while you control a non-effect monster, you draw 2 cards. Once per turn. Once per turn. And you know what? Want to know what one thing about this card? It says, it doesn't say that is a hard once per turn. It doesn't say you can only use this effective Land of the Eternal Tianwei once per turn. So this leads me to believe that if you play Metaverse in this deck, it'll be essentially a pseudo Maxi. You see this, they play this, and your opponent's like, okay, I'll have to give them a couple draws. You summon Kagari or whatever. I'm just throwing out an example. You summon anything, any effect monster, draw 2. And then after that, you flip up Metaverse, play another copy of this. They summon another monster, draw 2 again. Oh, I just went +4 because you summoned 2 monsters. That's actually pretty good. I don't know. I was kind of thinking maybe this wouldn't be too good, but now that I'm actually getting a detailed read on them, a detailed overview, they're all hand traps that do pretty decent things. And yeah, I don't know. But the thing I'm seeing here, it says none of them are really quick effects. Yeah, the 2 spell cards proving to be very, very good. Now we have a trap card, of course. Give them in the counter. Give us that negation. We need more of it. When a spell or trap card or a monster effect is activated, so you can't negate activations, but you can negate an effect. So anything that's if you can't negate the activation of any card. So if something activates, and if an effect activates on the activation, I don't think you'll be able to stop it. I'm not entirely sure. So it's activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, negate the activation. And then if this set card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special one non-effect monster from your extra deck. Negate the activation. If the set card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, special summon one non-effect monster from your extra deck. So now I'm curious. What if we go to, let's just say, any non-effect monster? Now that isn't too big of a deal, but you can summon this guy. You can summon this guy out at 3k. You can summon out Scrap Archfiend, Gem Knight Pearl, Link Spider, maybe, I don't know. No, Link Spider, no, you couldn't summon Link Spider. There's a pretty decent pool of cards that could be summoned off that. It's not the greatest. I'm thinking maybe like cards like Skill Drain would be really good in this deck, 100%. Maining Skill Drain seems like it'd be pretty good actually, because everything is activated in hand or grave, and seems like you get the most benefit from having non-effect monsters up. So Skill Drain seems like it'd be pretty busted in here. But one thing I also want to point out is a card called Witch's Strike that people have been underestimating. If you don't have your place at a Witch's Strike, please pick it up. I'm telling you. We already have Salmon Grate, which has a searchable counter trap, and that is can be countered by Witch's Strike. We're going to be having Orchist soon, which has a settable counter trap, which can be countered by Witch's Strike. We have this deck, which is also going to be able to be countered by Witch's Strike. We have this card, which is going to be able to negate the activation. That's Witch's Strikeable. Same thing with this card, I believe. I think you'd be able to Witch's Strike these cards. If I'm not, I apologize. Because Witch's Strike has like a weird wording on it. Yeah, so Witch's Strike says the activation of a card or effect. Yeah, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated. Yeah, so this says activated. This would say if the activation is negated. So this card would cover that. And then we also have this card when your opponent activates a card or effect or whatever. Negate the activation. This says if the activation is negated. Yeah. So, like, I think Witch's Strike was printed for a reason. It's going to be a really good counter for a lot of these upcoming decks. Like, I already have one. I need to get 2 more. I feel like this will be an everybody's side deck coming up soon. It just will be. And it'll be probably a $30, $40 card. Just because nobody's picking it up now. Nobody wants to pick it up because it's not good right now. But I'm telling you, man, I might be losing my marbles, but this card seems like it's going to have tons of potential in the near future. And if it's not, then you paid, what, $20? Because I think they're like 10 a piece now. You paid $20 to be prepared for a card that might quadruple in price and might help you win tons of games against a lot of these decks. You got 2 things in the main deck. You got Trap Trick. That's legal. It's at 3. End phase Trap Trick. Get your Witch's Strike. What are they going to do? Not grab a negation? And then they're just going to lose. See what I'm saying? I don't know. Then we'll go to the Link monsters. Really not too much to say about them because these guys don't have effects. Tianwei, Barefisted Monk. 1 non-Link Tianwei monster. Would you look at that? All of these cards are level 4 or lower, so you can just normal summon it. Then we have Tianwei Dragon Sage. Thank God it's a common, that's all I can say. Tianwei Dragon Sage, which is interesting because this monster has an effect. 2 worm monsters. You can discard 1 card, then target 1 worm monster in your graveyard. Cost, special summon it. Also, you can activate the effects of monsters that were special summoned in the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Tianwei monsters. When an attack is declared involving this face-up non-effect monster, you can target 1 card, your opponent controls, destroy it. Come and use each effect of Tianwei Dragon Sage 1 per turn. Good. Lock it into the Archetype. I like seeing that. Now, with that being said, I don't even know if a deck like this would play this card. It's not a non-effect monster. It would simply slow you down. This seems like maybe it's like a win more card. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Then we have Tianwei Ashura. 2 plus monsters, including a Link monster. Yeah, so this card has some weird Link arrows, too. Wow. Very interesting. I think that's cool that it does that. I feel like that's a sort of a unique balance. I get this big 3K boss monster that allows me to activate all these hand traps. Here, you can have 2 zones to start your turn. I don't know. That seems interesting. All I can really say. But yeah, that's Tianwei's. What do you guys think? I can sort of see where they're going with this with that Witch's Strike, man. I'm telling you, listen to me now. You'll be glad you did. You're going to side it. It's going to win you games. I'm going to side it too. I know that for a fact. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like on the video. Leave a comment down below. Follow me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter for updates and content posts, things of that nature. Join Discord way over there. Join Discord down in the description below. Love to have more people in there. Feel free to join. Chat with me, chat with others, whatever you want to do. And yeah, that's it for me. If you guys enjoyed, as always, Winter Kills signing out. We'll see you in the next one.